Shalom. First off, I'm going to start out by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rahakodash, Yahweh being the Heavenly Father's true name, Yahweh Shai being the name of His only begotten Son. Double honor unto the elders and the apostles, a great millstone who rule well and teach well. And peace, blessings, and salutations to all you walking throughout the four corners of the earth, continuing to push and do the works in truth and in sincerity. All right, this is the brother Masha, one of the men coming up under the branch here in the morning camp. Here's a quick lesson going into how Yahweh Shai, brought understanding, on doing good on the Sabbath. All right. And just a commentary that I read that kind of enlightened me more. So thought I'd do a lesson on it, just going in on that. Those will edifying and it makes sense. So without further ado, let's get into it. Mark 2. We're gonna start well, first let's go into what the Sabbath is, right? Because I mentioned it, but let's go into what the Sabbath is. In Exodus 20, Exodus chapter 20, and starting at verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Okay, so showing you pretty much is what is going into, all right, 6 working days that you 6 days to work, but the seventh day, and once again, is determined by when the new moon comes in. All right, because you count 6 days, from that time or from that day the new moon comes in. All right, and usually it will fall on the same day. All right, when you count 6 days later. So, but that's another lesson. But that's going into what the Sabbath is. All right, and every day, on the evening when that day comes, all right, you keep it holy. Okay, you're not supposed to work. All right, you're not supposed to let's get it in Jeremiah, right? Jeremiah also said, Jeremiah 17 and verse 21. Jeremiah 17 and 21. Thus said the Lord Yahweh Bashim unto me, go and stand in the gate of the children of the people, whereby the kings of Judah come in, and by the which they go out, and in all the gates of Jerusalem, and say unto them, hear ye the word of the Lord, ye kings of Judah, and all Judah, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem that enter in by these gates. Thus saith the Lord. Thus saith the Lord. Take heed to yourselves, and bear no burden on the Sabbath day, nor bring it in by the gates of Jerusalem. Okay, so let's go into that word burden real quick. Burden, load, bearing tribute, burden lifting, a burden, just pretty much going and doing any type of work. All right, whether it be selling, transactions, right, buying and selling, on the Sabbath you're not supposed to do that, but when we go to the New Testament, right, so we read this Exodus 20, and this is showing you what the Sabbath is. It's pretty much the seventh day that is to be kept holy. All right, and it's as it says, right, in verse 11 it says, for in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. All right, so it's we're keeping it on here on earth as it is in or we're doing it after the fashion, that we read in the scriptures. The angels, it took 7 years, right, to create everything, but the seventh day, as we read in the scriptures in Genesis 3, they rested. All right, and that's when they hollered that, right? So it's going pretty much after the same fashion when it comes to our weekdays, but I don't want to ramble too much. So this is showing you what the Sabbath is, right? So let's go to, because it's telling you what it is, and you're not supposed to work and do no type of burden, right? Let's go to Matthew chapter 12. Matter of fact, before I get that, I'm gonna get Mark. All right, because Mark kind of makes it says it in a different way, that which is what I wanted to go into. Mark 2 and 27. Mark chapter 2 and verse 27. Matter of fact, let's start at 23. And it came to pass that he went through the cornfields on the Sabbath day, and his disciples began as they went to pluck the ears of corn. And the Pharisees said unto him, Behold, why do they on the Sabbath day that which is not lawful? And he said unto them, Have ye not read what David did when he had need and was and hungered? Right. So that's another thing. He said, what David did when he was hungry. Right. He and they that were with him, how he went into the house of the Most High in the days of Abiathar the high priest, and did eat the shewbread which is not lawful to eat, but for the priests, and gave also to them which were with him. Verse 27. And he said unto them, The Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Okay. Verse 28. Therefore the Son of Man is Lord also of the Sabbath. Okay, so right here it says the Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. All right. So I wanted to go into a commentary, right? Wanted to go into a commentary that I read on that what he said there. Mark chapter 2. Mark chapter 2 and verse 27. And it was the Guild's commentary, right? Salakia. Let me pause real quick. I'll be back. All right, Salakia for that. But just going into the Guild's commentary on what Yahushua said when he said the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath, right? Jumping down to the second part, the Sabbath was made for man for his good and not for his hurt, both for the good of his soul, that he might have an opportunity of attending divine worship, both in public and private, and for the good of his body, that he might have rest from his labor. And this was the end of the original institution and appointment of it. And therefore works of necessity are not forbidden on this day, right? So let's go into this word necessity. Necessity. I'm gonna just get it in the Merriam-Webster. A pressure of circumstance, physical or moral compulsion. Salakia. The dictionary.com says something necessary or indispensable. All right. Food, shelter, and other necessities of life. All right. Necessity, the need for something that you need, especially in order to live. Okay. So what? Going back, all right, it says, therefore, and therefore works of necessity are not forbidden on this day, such as are for the necessary comfort, support, and preservation of life, or otherwise it would be apparent that the Sabbath was not appointed for the good, but for the hurt of men. Okay, so just going into that because going back to this, okay, it just shows what Yahushua meant. All right, the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath. Okay, so that's why it's for you to you can do good for yourself on the Sabbath. Okay, and I'm not, once again, you know understand the balance on that, because I'm not saying go to work when you don't have to go to work. No, I'm saying if you gotta eat and you don't there's nothing in your freezer, but you got the money to go eat and it's the Sabbath, it says right, and you gotta go eat, then hey, go buy you something to eat. Okay, this is the understanding that Yahushua was given when he was on the scene. All right, that's why he mentioned have you not read what David did when he was when he had need and was in hunger, right? So what? He was hungry, and that's the point. It said works of necessity are not forbidden. So he just using that example because he was hungry. But even us on the Sabbath day, if you're hungry, once again, it's not saying to destroy yourself and be over righteous and don't go buy nothing to eat. Okay, but let's go to let's let's go to Matthew chapter 12, right? Because he, gives a better explanation here too, right? Matthew chapter 12 and starting at verse 9. And when he was departed thence, he went into their synagogue, and behold, there was a man which had his hand withered, and they asked him, saying, Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath days? That they might accuse him. And he said unto them, What man shall there be among you that shall have one sheep, and if it fall into a pit on the Sabbath day, will he not lay hold on it and lift it out? All right. So he's giving an example, like, look, it's something serious that you got to do, like, to preserve life. Once again, all right, as we read in the commentary, otherwise the as he's saying here, right, have one sheep and it fall into a pit. So if you don't, take the sheep out the pit, then it could possibly die, right? Verse 12, how much then is a man better than a sheep? Wherefore it is lawful to do well on the Sabbath days. Okay. So what? He's giving an understanding once again, like, look, it's as we read, really as Yahushua is saying here, look, it's lawful to do well on the Sabbath days, all right? And that's why the guilds, okay, gave that explanation. Look, works of necessity are not forbidden on the Sabbath, right? And once again, I gave those examples, or it could be your car, you caught a flat on you had to work on the Sabbath, right? Because once again, we're in captivity and you caught a flat. Are you just gonna not worry about it because it's the Sabbath? No, you can go air it up, right? Just once again, offer the understanding that Yahweh Bashem Shai gave. All right. So, but that's pretty much the point. Just wanted to go into that. Lord's will. I hope it was edifying and on point. Once again, double honor unto the elders and the apostles of great millstone who rule well and teach well, and peace, blessings, and salutations to all you walking throughout the four corners of the earth, continuing to push and do the works in truth and sincerity. All right. So I hope the lesson was edifying and on point. With that, I'm gonna say shalom.